This is part 3 on our video series on how to build custom cabinets. If you missed parts 1 and 2, be sure to check those out where we cover everything from building our cabinet boxes, face frames, and building our drawers and sliding trays. In this part, we're going to be building our raised panel doors and drawer fronts for our lower cabinets. When choosing my workpiece to make my drawer fronts, I make sure I have enough length to make the two corresponding drawer fronts from the same length of wood. I also choose a piece that has nice grain and visual interest so that the grain pattern will flow through the two drawer fronts and make a nice visual statement. I've sized my drawer fronts so that they overhang my face frame by 1/2 inch all the way around. To add a decorative and functional feature to our drawer fronts, we're going to use a finger pole bit. This bit creates a chamfer on the back side of the drawer front and a little cove detail that will add a nice visual interest to our drawer fronts. I'm routing face down to get the appropriate profile on the drawer front, and I'm also going to route my end grain first and then my long grain so that any potential tear out on the exit of the cut when routing the long grain will be cleaned up by the long grain cut. I'm gluing up the panels for my lower cabinet doors, and to do this I'm using a couple of different types of clamps. I'm using parallel jaw clamps to provide my clamping force, and I'm also using a pair of spring clamps to help keep the joints in the panel aligned while I apply clamping force. When the glue is dry, give the panels a quick sand to remove any glue squeeze out, and then I head to the table saw to cut them to final size. I'm raising my panels in 3 passes using an Infinity Art Deco raised panel bit. By making multiple passes, I will be removing less material per pass. It'll give me a better finished result and also allow me to sneak up on my finished cut height so that my panel will sit nicely in the frame. I'm using a back cutter on my raised panels. This allows me to use the same thickness of material for my panels as I use for my frames and have a nice flush panel on both the face and the back of the cabinet door. For more information on how to size the individual rails and stiles for your cabinet doors, be sure to check out our blog where we go into great detail on how to measure and cut your pieces for the frame to size. You can find a link to that blog in the description. I'm using the included setup block that comes with all Infinity 2-piece rail and stile router bit sets to get my rail cutting bit set to the correct height. I'm also using an Infinity coping sled setup block. This elevates my rail and stile setup block to the same height that my workpiece will be when it's mounted in my coping sled. I made my own setup block from a scrap piece of material when I ran my rail cut so that I can not only use this as a setup block if I need to cut more pieces, but also to allow me to easily set the stile cutter to match my rail. This is the most foolproof way to get a perfect matching rail and stile joint. With all my pieces cut, I'm ready to assemble my raised panel door. Before I do my assembly, I'm going to add space balls to the grooves of my rails and stiles. One in the center of each rail and 2 in each stile. These space balls are little round rubber balls, and they will help center the panel in the frame and keep the panel from rattling. Once I have the space balls installed, I can glue my rails, being careful not to apply too much glue because I don't want it to squeeze out too much and cause an issue with gluing the panel in place. I want the panel to float. Get one started. Once we have a corner, we'll get our panel slid in. With the door fully assembled and clamped up, I can set it aside and let the glue dry. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss part 4 of our video series where we build the glass front doors for our upper cabinets.